Who knows? Is Kelly often trying to thwart your career advancement?
Kelly was messing with the firewall.
Guy
The
knows all.
firewires.
It's funny that you brought that up because the video of all the videos that you've been posting on Instagram, the one where you're, patting him on the back after his heat up at Pipe, he still feels very confused about the exchange. Like everybody else plays along and seems to get the joke. Does he not? How does he feel about your comedy?
That's a freaking great question that I would love to find out myself. We had dinner. We had dinner before I went to Hawaii at Machado's house. And it's kind of the first time I've really sat down with him and got to know him. And we didn't talk about like anything, but we just like got into like the deepest universe questions of life. And we like figured out the universe together. But I feel like definitely at first, like it came off like, oh, it's against him. And I feel like now that he's getting older and like maybe the competitiveness is like calming down, he's like, maybe this guy likes me.
I wonder if he's just worried that he's going to get made fun of, because when you approached him in that video, there was a clear sign of recognition. He knew who you were, but then you patting him on the back or whatever you did made him feel a little bit like, wait, am I going to be the butt of this joke?
Yeah. Which is probably smart because I'm always, I honestly, I didn't have a plan to it. I was just like, let's just film me down there, and just, it kind of evolved itself. So I myself didn't necessarily have like, all I knew is I was going to wear sweatpants and pretending I had just finished a heat with him.
When you say you guys figured out the universe over your dinner conversation, expand on that. Tell me more.
We just got into the deepest philosophical stuff, like what does everything mean? And we just went down like mega wormholes. And Kelly's head is like so big, there's like so much brain in there. Like I was sitting next to him, he's like right here, and his head was like my whole body almost. And he was just like, it was like 10 at night, and he was like, his brain was going harder, like we were going deeper. And I like look over to Kelly, and like he's just like, and I look over at Rob, and he's like half asleep. He's like, and I'm just like, this is like, they're polar opposites,
Right.
like, and it was just classic, like. But I love Kelly. He's a specimen. Like, I just love, like, he's trying to go somewhere, and it's just like he doesn't know, but he's going.
Yeah, he's a fascinating figure, that's for sure. You and I told Benji Weatherly that he was the first pro surfer comedian. Yeah. And you told me that I was in fact very wrong about that. Who do you reckon was the first?
Well, he's definitely like a forefather. I think Peter King probably is like, I think Aki is, but Aki's more of a character, but he's more of a comedian than you realize when you're around him. Like the Jack McCoy videos back in the day, like I can see Aki really mapping that stuff out. Not like, oh, I'm just walking around being silly. Like knowing Aki, like when I made videos with him, like it's very, like his comedy is very like serious to him. Like anything he did, he wanted to nail the punchline, like. So I feel like technically it's probably Aki, but I'm leaning towards like Peter King. Like he seemed like for sure a comedian, you know, like he was doing
But
the MTV stuff.
that's what I was going to say. Where did you see his comedy? Because as an individual, you're right. He is very funny and he feels like a comedian just by nature, but I never saw that being displayed like in the media. So where were you encountering that?
Well, there was a couple surf videos. There's a few surf videos where he was I remember he was in France and he was like interviewing all the guys and making fun of the food and
Yeah.
I can't remember what video it is. And it seems like little bits and videos. I remember Peter King, like you might be right. Like we always saw him at the expos and he was just so funny, you know, like I loved Peter King, like, and my brother was good friends with him. And I mean, maybe I am blending. He did have that MTV show, right?
Yeah, but the other question here is, even if you validate him as a comedian, does he qualify as a pro surfer?
I think he was for sure. Like he
You
was
got a
in
cover shot.
he was in that Sons of Fun. He's like the main guy in that.
All right.
So like, I mean, back in the day, if you're like main Billabong guy, that's pretty legit.
I
Maybe
remember he did.
he wasn't like top 44, or maybe he was.
I don't think he was, but he did get a cover shot at one point, which I think qualifies you in and of itself. It's funny that you're saying that Aki, he was aware of it, like he was trying to hit the punchlines, because I've never spent any time with him at all, but my impression of him was always that he was completely oblivious. Like he's funny by naturally funny, but that he wasn't aware, you know? So it's actually kind of, I like it better that he knows what's going on.
Oh yeah. Like, cause when I did the Still Filthy movie with him for Billabong, I did like a whole tour with him. Like I did trips with him and a tour with him, and like all day long, he's trying to set up these lines, and he's hoping you say what he wants you to say, so he can be like, "Yeah," you know, like he's like, "God," and if he nails it, he'll elbow you for like a half hour, like, "Did you?"
That's so funny.
I could definitely see him and Jack McCoy like. I bet that was a lot of Aki, you know, all the sunglasses he was wearing, you know, like I remember him telling me he was super into yoga at the time. And like, I just feel like, you know, me and him went to Peru and we made a comedy video, and he was very particular of everything for sure. And everything I like wanted him to do, he was like, I don't know, mate. He was really worried too he was so scared about the Jeremy video. Like he's good friends with Jeremy. He's just like, I just don't want a Jeremy video. I was like, that was like a once in a lifetime accident.
Yeah. And that only became a viral thing because of how Jeremy responded to it.
Right. Yeah, if he would have played along, it wouldn't even blown up really.
Not at all.
It was like
so continuing on with our power rankings. We've got Aki, we've got PK. Where does Gurr land in this?
I think it's Aki, PK, Gurr, Donovan, Benji. Like if we're going down the line, like Aki, Gurr, Donovan, Benji. I mean, those are the guys I was inspired by for sure.
Like, that was my next question. Because you almost can't. There's no lane for it unless those guys have paved the path, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what else is weird that I didn't think about until I'm looking at the list now? Billabong's affiliation. With Aki, PK. I don't think Gurr ever had anything with Billabong, but Donnie, Benji back in the day was on Billabong, right?
Yeah, he was on Billabong when I got on. Well, I
Yeah.
was like a kid, but
So is Gordon Merchant secretly curating comedy's finest stable?
maybe maybe since Aki is funny, that allowed, you know, the next guys to be acceptable. Like they saw how well Aki worked, you know, like he's still profitable.
Yeah.
So maybe they're like, yeah, maybe it was, you know, maybe Aki was, you know, Aki definitely had the most say, I remember, you know, like nothing. Well, Andy had the most say for sure, but Aki was like the godfather, you know.
Yeah.
Is the
Even Andy
godfather.
looked at Aki as the
Yeah.
Godfather. Um,
But
it's
sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Andy was like my biggest. I don't think I would have ever been able to do what I did if I didn't have Andy in my corner.
Really? Tell me more.
Like I was pretty controversial, you know, like all of my stuff wasn't taken the best way a lot of the times. You know, a lot of people thought I was making fun of the legends or whatever. And Andy was like a really big supporter of mine. And like kind of like so many times like when I got to do my film Surf Madness, Andy like made them do it. Cause me and Andy had like a special relationship. I felt like I was the only guy where he could like relax around because
Hmm.
I wasn't trying to be like super pro. Like I was the silly guy, you know. And me and Andy like gravitated towards each other, and I remember like it was the Surfer Pole Awards, and they used all my voiceovers in the Surfer Pole Awards, and it was the first time I got to see like people's reactions to it, and everyone was laughing. I remember Andy like grabbing Enoch Harris. He's like, "You're giving this guy a movie. You're giving this guy." He was like my validation, you know. Like if Andy says yes, like, and I feel like, you know, like my career could have gone two ways. Like I could have just been written off, you know, and
Yeah.
because I was with Billabong and it was such a big team at the time, like I was lucky, you know, I was able to like be on that team when I was doing it because I probably would have gotten written off. You know, I probably would have just looked like a crazy clown person. But I was
Yeah.
with, you know, Andy, Taj, Joel doing this stuff, making the movies, you know, surfing against Kelly. So it was all just like happening at once that like validated my career.
You're right that there are a lot of people who have the talent, but without that validation from somebody credible, you know, they're not able to do anything with it. Maybe they have more opportunity now because of
Yeah,
social
no.
media. You can write your own path, but back
Yeah.
then you did need the validation.
Oh, back then it was so hard to be a pro surfer because like yeah, you needed validation and you needed to be national champ, you needed to be pro junior champ, you needed QS. Like there was like a ladder, especially with Billabong. Like I was in like all their meetings all the time. There was like the official ladder, and then Rasta kind of like he was the exception.
Right.
You know, like Rasta was like Jack McCoy's favorite. So it was like he opened the path and then Donovan opened the path. And like then Billabong like really opened up, which let me be able to be me, I feel like for sure.
Yeah. Um, what do you think Andy, part of me thinks Andy just wants to be a rabble rouser. And so he saw that you were rabble rousing and was just kind of like, whatever this kid's like, did he actually get the comedy or did he like that you were just upsetting everything?
Well, me and Andy bonded when I surfed the J Bay event. because I was surfing against Kelly, and I was staying at the Billabong house at J-Bay. So I was so excited to just be near Kelly. Like, Kelly was my favorite. And Kelly's super good friends with my brother and my dad. So I was like excited just to surf with him. I wasn't even thinking about beating him really. Like, I was 17, 18 years old. So I'm just like, couldn't believe I'm there, like full Rick Kane. And but Kelly missed his first heat, so he ended up surfing against me. And Andy was like, dude, here we go, get ready. And I'm like, what? What's wrong? And he's like, get ready for the mind games, dude. Kelly's gonna be all over you. So Andy was like telling me everything I needed to know to surf against Kelly. He's like, he's gonna do this. He's gonna do it. And like everything Andy said, like Kelly sure enough did. Like, Kelly knew where I was sleeping, and he somehow every morning wake up drinking a cup of coffee when I open the door, like,
No way.
oh, wait, look at the waves. Like, just and like, so like it was flat for 2 weeks. And this is where I kind of learned. I think Kelly on tour at that time, everyone didn't like him. I think it was during that period. Like, he's been winning for so long. I remember Taj and Joel, like, they were sick of him, it felt like. And it was very Billabong versus Quicksilver at the time. Like, they were the top two brands. And so I like, that's when I like started, I was like, oh, Kelly's like really, he wants to beat me bad. And the waves were going to be really small. And I think he was worried because I'm like from Florida and I'm like so light. And I already lost to Kelly in my head. Like, I was just like, I'm just stoked to be here. Like, I really don't care. Like, but Kelly was so serious. Like, he had the white wetsuit on, and like Kelly or Andy broke his board that year. Like, and it was all like happening. And so like, I remember I got my first computer at the time, my first little MacBook. And I'm like in this basement, and all that, like Andy and the guys are upstairs. And I like I just started messing around with like blog stuff then. And I was super into Photoshop. And that was when I first started like photoshopping my face on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Andy walked downstairs to like grab a beer in the fridge, and he's like, hey, what is that? I'm like, it's a computer. He's like, he looked at me like I was launching a rocket into space. Like, and he sat next to me, and I'm like, I had Photoshop up. And because like everyone was against Kelly, I was like, I'm gonna Photoshop Kelly's head onto something. So I had Kelly's head ready to be put on this seagull body. And I was like, Andy, watch. And I was like, and I clicked it and like moved it to the seagull body. And Andy looked at me like, oh, like, in his mind, he's like, cyber attack. And he's like, can we print this out? Like, where could we gotta put this somewhere. Like, let's put it on the results stage. So we like print a bunch out and like put them around the contest and stuff. So that was really where that was like kind of my thing with Billabong and like the guys like in Hawaii. I would print out stuff. It was mostly like Kelly stuff or like Quicksilver versus Billabong stuff.
Yeah.
I would print, and it was like, I was like the guy, I was like the digital guy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where like the blog kind of came up, because it was like, oh, now we can get this out. Because we were like, the internet just started, you know? So we were like trying to figure out when we realized like, you know, oh, the internet, everyone's got the internet. It was like, oh, like, now I can do this and that.
Who won that heat between you and Kelly?
He won. I actually could have won. But he like, I'm not sure if I told you this, but I thought I told you last time, maybe not. Andy was like on the cliff, and he's like, make sure you catch the first wave, you know, way up the point. So I like paddled way back, and then like I see Kelly. So I'm like, the heat started and a set perfectly came. So I just like taking the first wave, and like so I like look back to see if I'm like about to catch the wave, and then like when I go back, Kelly's right in my face. Kelly's like this close. His nose is touching my nose, and he has those beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're at Jeffreys Bay, the best right in the world. And he's like, are you going left? And I was like, what? And like took off on the wave. And I remember just being like, all I could see was his beautiful eyes, like,
and you're still tripping because he asked if you're going left. Like that's
yes.
so out of left field that it would throw you off on the first few seconds.
The whole wave, I was like, and it was super small. It was like waist high, and I think I got like a 4, and then it went flat forever. And Kelly was like freaking. He was doing like the splash thing. He's like, "Come on!" It was full like Rick Kane and Lance Burkhardt.
Yeah.
But
so you said you could have won the heat. What was the point that you could have won at?
I think I missed. I let a wave go, and he was way down the point, and he caught it and got like a 5 or something. And I didn't realize like how long Jeffreys Bay was and stuff, and like didn't realize he could, like the wave didn't even break where I was, but then like build
Yeah.
and hit him, you know. So like I should have like stayed closer to him probably.
Gotcha. The mind game thing, you're talking about him playing the mind game with drinking coffee, you doing the digital thing. That's where I was saying Andy likes you as the rabble rouser, because he was almost, I feel like he could use you to actually mind game everybody else to a certain degree.
Yes, and that was like I was like the yeah, I was like the cyber dude.
For the team.
Yeah, for the team. I was like the
Totally.
mascot.
Totally.
And when we were doing Still Filthy, I mean, that was all when like Andy and Kelly were, like I was there for all of Andy's world titles, like the 3 years in a row. I was there for all of them, like every after party, and yeah, that was like my duty.
That's funny.
I was like helping Andy on the streets.
Yeah, that's epic. I mean, honestly, it wasn't obvious in the moment, as I was a fan watching the videos, reading the magazines, all that kind of stuff. Your role in hindsight is very evident and clear, but at the time it was just it was perfect. You know, it just fit in perfectly.
Yeah, it was just, I'm almost digesting it more too.
Yeah.
As time goes on, you know, like it was all just happening. Like the internet was happening and we were just kind of living in the moment.
Well, when you see the way that people run political campaigns now, and there is, it is all very much planned out, and they have like subversive Twitter memes and content, you know, that is like nobody actually talks about, but it is by design to undermine the other campaign and all that kind of stuff. It's almost similar to that in a certain way.
Yeah, for sure. Like the Trump Biden stuff, like,
or Trump Hillary back in the day.
Yeah. It's just like, it was like that, but it was almost like, it was still small circle. Like,
yeah,
if you knew about my blog, like you were kind of like in the end, you know, like it wasn't until like 2011 where my blog took off, mostly because Dane started a blog. it was like, it felt like when Dane started his blog, it was just like, douche, like digital media is it.
Right.
That's the, and then I was riding Dane's coattails, you know, like, and I could almost reach a bigger audience because I was comedy. So I felt like at the time I had such a huge audience that wasn't even surfing, you know?
Yeah, it's like you have to really be into surfing to understand the difference between Dane's tail blow and somebody else's tail blow, but you don't have to know anything about surfing to laugh at a centaur.
Yeah. And that's why I started saying like I'm the #1 surfer in the world, because no one understood surfing. So like when I started just saying it, it was real. Like people be like, let's get a picture of them.
Yeah, he's hanging out with Andy. He must be, you know.
It's just yeah, good.
That's well, kind of, I want to follow up from our previous conversation. Last time we chatted was in August 2020. And since then, so you actually referenced at that time the head injury that you sustained from a surfboard.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it had gotten as severe as it went on to get. So like the repercussions of that injury got worse after we spoke, but you also seem to have recovered tremendously in that amount of time. So can you kind of explain how that process developed since we last spoke?
Yeah, when we talk, I would just figured out what was going on. And that took me like a good year because I was feeling off for a while. And then my walking was starting to get messed up when I was talking to you. I remember I started kind of walk, and yeah, right after that, I could barely lift my arm, and it was really heavy. And you know, like I went to normal doctors and they're like, he's depressed. I'm like, depression can paralyze you? And they were just like, really wrote me off. And so I found Chinese medicine doctor, and he knew instantly. He's like, you have a brain injury. He's like, what do you do? Are you like an athlete? And I was like, yeah, I'm a pro surfer. He's like, you've hit your head so many times. Like, and I was like, really? And so that when I started taking like, I didn't take any medicine. I was taking supplements and acupuncture. And so I started to get better. Like, I was able to get out of bed again. And I was, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, just something was wrong with me. And it would tell me how much I could do and then stop. Because if I tried to keep going, I would go backwards. I would get worse. And so I was just, no one was kind of telling me what to do. I was just going to acupuncture every day. And like, I did that for like 6 months, and I got like kind of better. And then I got into a car accident. I couldn't get to the beach for like a year because the bridge was closed and I couldn't drive. So when I finally could drive, I was sitting on a red light and I got hit from behind from this kid texting and driving. And he was probably drunk too, or stoned, or and so when that happened, I got 10 times worse. Then I was like really messed up. I could barely see. It was like I was going blind pretty much. And it was just like so heavy. So then my doctor sent me to this neurologist. And I was in a wheelchair at that point. And,
Crazy.
yeah, it's heavy to talk about. But I was on like, he like made me stand up, and I couldn't even stand like on one foot at all. Like I just fall on the ground. And he was just like, he put me on this brain treatment called TMS. And he was like, I can get you surfing in 6 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks. I'm like, how? He's like, this treatment, we can do it. And his name is Dr. Brown. And he was like my savior in this experience. Like he was like my Mr. Miyagi. Um, my wife drove me to Alabama every single day, and I put on the brain machine and do that for 30 minutes, and then we'd immediately get on balance boards, and I'd work with lasers, and we're connecting my pathways back together and stuff. And it was so hard because the brain machine works your brain out like a triathlon, like just your brain. So you're exhausted, and then you're like doing everything. And then so like every day I get back home and I'm just like so sick and tired, and like it was torture. and it was so scary. Like I remember this, I had 4 people kind of in my class, and one of the kids, like he could only move his arm. We all had the same kind of injury, he could just move his arm. And my doctor, he's like, he's just lazy.
No way.
Yeah, he's like, he just doesn't want it. And he's like, you're an athlete. He's like, any athlete I've ever worked with, y'all are like on this y'all are on this other level of willpower that I can't even explain, because I was getting better so fast. Like every day I go in, he's like, you're already bouncing better than anyone I've worked with. So like, and then I had this lady who ended up passing away because her injury, she was so depressed, she just lost the will to live, and she just stopped eating.
Wow.
And she passed away while I was there. And then I had this older gentleman who had dementia, and he was doing great. And he used to be a fighter pilot in World War II or something. So my doctor is like, he's all about willpower if you're going to recover from brain injury, because your brain is done. And the only way to get it to move is it's up to like your soul, pretty much. Like, are you going to move it, or are you going to let it just kill you? So me and him made it, and the other 2 didn't. And it was just like, man, like I felt so grateful for my dad. Just like, just your upbringing is everything, like I'm lucky
because he instilled that willpower.
Yeah, for sure.
The conversation of where does willpower even come from? I mean, you said it's not in your brain, it's from your soul. I mean, that's a super interesting conversation.
It was the most spiritual journey you could go on. I was fighting for my physical life, and I love surfing so much. It was like, it got me up every day, it was just so hard.
You said that the other kid who wouldn't lift his arm because the doctor said he was lazy didn't make it. What does that mean?
I don't think he's walking ever again.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It
was just so intense. Yeah, it was so intense. I'm like fighting for my life. And then I would like get back home, and like people couldn't comprehend what I was going through. Like, and it made me kind of hate people. Like, I don't know, like, I think COVID did something to people. I think like a weird disconnection happened with COVID, I feel like. And I got this during COVID. I just felt like, I felt like I was on my deathbed, and I thought people would like come and help and, like worry about me. And it was like something about my injury scared people, made them feel uncomfortable and stay away from me. because it's like, oh, he's crazy, his brain's messed up. Not like, oh, his legs hurt. I can like, it was weird. It was like I had so many friends, like friends that would text me every day, but just like so scared to be around me. Like, I'm like, man, I would love a ride to the beach. And just like silence for most of the people in my life. And it was just like, I struggled so hard with that. Like, I just thought, you know, you always like hear about like someone making a comeback from being paralyzed, or in like, I just always thought like people were going to help me. And it was like, I had to do it completely by myself. And that really like hurt. Like, but maybe that was just like my path. Like, it was very weird timing with COVID to go through this, you know?
Yeah. I
Like,
think, well, I think that people are afraid, you know, like they don't know, if they haven't been through it, they don't know how to sympathize with it or how to be helpful. And I don't know, like there's so much in my life that until I experienced it, I have
yeah.
no sympathy for it, because I'm independent by nature and I'm
Mhm.
kind of like capable in general. Like I've been able to get things done. And so then I see somebody else is having a kid and I don't reach out to them because I don't want to bother them. I just, everything to me feels, when people text me or call me, I'm just like, leave me alone. I'm going through my day. But then I have my own kid and I realize,
I
oh
need
my gosh, yeah, I need help. And it's nice
you
when
to
people
talk to
reach out.
me.
Yeah, people ask how he's doing and I want to share pictures with them and I'm excited to. And then I realized all my friends who I never reached out to for the first year of their kid because I didn't want to bother them. And I thought about them all the time and I still love them and I want to be supportive. I just didn't know how, you know? And so I think that's what a lot of it is.
For sure.
Um, and it's scary, to be honest. What you're going through, it makes us confront the reality of how feeble our own existence is. And that's a
I,
scary thought.
I've always been like, I've always been the, you know, pro surfer, in shape, you know, has it together, always successful kind of person. And I think it really freaked people out to see me
Yeah.
like, I mean, for a full year, the only thing I could do was get down to my tree down at the park here. Like, it would take me like half hour to get to my van. Like, I would just crawl to my van, get to my tree. And I was, I was so sensitive. My body was so sensitive. A blade of grass felt like a razor blade in my back. So I carried this giant foam cushion, like a bed, and I would drag it to the tree and I would lay down, and I couldn't take a shower because the water hurt my body so bad. So I started stinking. My hair was so long. I wore the same thing every day. And I went from like pro surfer Sterling Spencer, Yancey Spencer's son, like royalty, to like Sterling is a crazy person. He's like a hobo now, but he has a sprinter. And like all my friends live in this neighborhood, you know? So I would like see them avoid me.
Oh,
And dude,
wow.
it hurt. It hurt. Like,
Well, you'll be maybe glad to know you were posting some of this on social media occasionally, maybe you with the head, be the brain machine on or whatever. And I had listeners reaching out to me because they had heard you on the podcast a year prior or whatever. And they were like asking me for updates on how you were doing and all but selling or sending well wishes. Like, hey, is he doing okay? What's the prognosis? Where are things at? And which is why kind of I wanted to have this follow-up conversation with you now, is to give people those updates. But
yeah.
if the people in your neighborhood weren't necessarily expressing their concern, I had dozens and dozens and dozens of people, expressing concern to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just feel like I got a deep look into, the homeless in
Oh
our
yeah.
society, like it's like I was temporarily, just like them. And it was so interesting, like, because I live in kind of a rich neighborhood, and when I was at that state at the bottom, dude, like homeless people, I met like homeless people, and it was like we would talk, and I was like, wow, I understand you now.
Mm,
Like, oh, you were at war and you got blasted, and now all your pathways are messed up, and you can't get your shit together because no one will help you.
no treatment.
No treatment. And I was there with them. And I was like, shit. Like, this is crazy. Like, I was able to see out of the eyes of like a veteran, when your pathways are just so messed up and you don't have the funds to get yourself where you need to go. And like, I have this crazy willpower. And I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Like, I remember I laid for like a good year, it felt like. And it was like, okay, I got to figure this out. I have to like find the right doctors and it was just like, I feel like I had to manifest who was coming to help me. Like, I had to picture it all before it happened to get to these people.
Interesting.
Like, because no one was going to pick me up and go do it for me.
Yeah.
No, because I was just written off. It's like, I feel like I'm Sterling, and I portrayed of being a crazy person. That was like part of my comedy act. And then now I'm really like struggling, and people are like, is Sterling just being Sterling? Like, or
Well,
Sterling's already crazy.
so I got that message as well from a few people when you were posting some things on social media during it. They were like, is this Andy Kaufman, making like really taking this joke to the extreme? And I was like, well, I hope not, because it's not funny. Like a joke has to be funny in the end. You know what I mean? And I don't see the comedy in it. And so then they were waiting for a reveal, essentially.
Yeah.
So it is a predicament there.
I mean, what I did the brain treatment, and I did stand up on a board in 6 weeks. And then the ocean was like, it felt so good to just be in the ocean, but then like waist high waves, I was out at freaking YMA.
Oh, really?
And it was so scary, and it was so intense, and like I basically used the same skills I used surfing pipe, surfing these big waves. I used the same skills, and I'm like in Alabama surfing knee-high waves. And so I was able to surf, but I could only catch 2 waves, and then I would go home and I'd be in so much pain, like all night, just like gnashing your teeth pain. And at that time, me and my wife were just like, we've been in this house for like 2 years, and we were just like, it just felt like we're losing hope, And my doctor was like, you guys have to go to an island. You need to go to an island, Sterling, and sit on the beach and just relax. And it's easy to surf. You catch a couple waves, go in and relax. Like you just need total relaxation. Like you can't handle anything. You can't handle normal life. I could barely handle a phone call. I would text and it felt like a freaking doing a 5-mile walk, you know, like,
Yeah.
so I had to be careful how much I texted with people so I didn't like go overboard. So we flying on a plane with a brain injury was the scariest thing you could ever do in life. But I was like, I have to go. Like, I'm going to like die here. So like wheelchair through the airports. And we stopped in California to stay with Rob for 2 days. And that's when I had dinner with Kelly. And I was just tripping balls. Like, having a brain injury is like being on LSD and like having the worst flu of your life.
Okay.
Like you feel like you have the COVID times 10. And then your psychological state, I would see things constantly. I always saw my dad like very visual. Like I think every brain injury is different depending on, you know, what you hit, you know, and like I obviously hit something very like visual. It was like so intense. Every day was like a spiritual journey of like, I felt like I was in the movie Scrooge, where he takes him through his life
Yeah.
and everything he's done wrong. It felt like that. Like anything, my brain remembers everything. And I was watching it like a movie. And like I was seeing what I did wrong and what I did right. And it all led up to I got to Hawaii. And when I got to Hawaii, it stopped. And like I just laid on the beach every day, just like, and it felt so good. And it was like I finally started moving forward. We were there for 3 months in the summer. And oh man, it was just like the biggest relief. Like Hawaii is so special to me. Like it's so healing. Like just the air is healing. The sand was healing. Like I just listened to Hawaiian music all day, and like I could like every tune in my brain was healing. Like I started understanding like how special this place is. Like it really is healing. Like the reef was healing. Everything just was. It was crazy. Like, and so I did 3 months there, and like my son was about to start school, and my wife's like, I have to go. Like I was like, I don't want to go, but I still could barely walk, even though I felt so much better. So Machado, he's like, we have a brain treatment down the street. You could do that and just stay here. And so I went and stayed with him, and that it was like the biggest blessing. And it was also one of the hardest experiences of my life, because it was like I was kind of a blob. And it was like, then that was like, okay, now it's time for you to like move forward, start relearning everything, start surfing again, you know. And it was just it was a really hard experience, that I don't think either of us were ready for, because like, you know, they have a big family and they probably shouldn't have like an injured person with them. You know, because like a 5-year, you know, they have like a 8-year-old, he would just scream once and I'd be like, ah, you know, and I would go to a panic attack, and I would have to go into my room and like curl into a ball, and like, you know, so it's just like I'm in like just this wonderful normal family, but it's hurting me. But
Wow.
it also pushed me. It was like, I guess it was what I was needed, but it was just really hard. Like, it was just like, because Rob would take me surfing, and it's like the water's cold, and like uh I was so hard on myself because it's like I'm watching Rob surf. I'm like I gained 50 pounds, maybe even more. And it was like just trying to surf again. I was riding all Rob's boards and he rides like paper thin. It was just like, I'm so grateful to them, but like, um, it was just so like, it was just so hard. Like I, I wish I almost, I wish, I just feel like for the time being, it ruined our relationship because I was so hard, like I wasn't this wonderful guest around their house. I was like crawling and like, but no one can see it. It's all in here.
Right.
Like no one can see my suffering. Like no one sees me go in my room crying, like throwing up. It's like, and then I come back out and like put on my best show. I'm a guest. And it was just like so hard. Like I had to do it. It just sucks like how hard it was, like, and when I got to the final day of brain treatment, it was like, oh man, I was just like, I just had to like get out. I just had to like go home, like I wasn't with my family. Um, it was just, it sucks, man. Like me and my wife finally figured it out when like my doctor showed her what it's really like to go through this. Because it feels like it always felt like for me, everyone thought I was lying. Like, oh, he can walk. Because they'd see me surf. And when I would surf, it's like something turned on. And I could catch like 5 waves. So you'd see me like do cutbacks. And so you'd be like, oh, Sterling's great. He's good. He's back. And like the rest of the day, I'm like puking and I'm like dizzy. My left eye goes blind. Like all this stuff the whole rest of the day and night. And like I'm trying to get on a rhythm to sleep because you have to sleep to heal. And like, so I just felt so overwhelmed in California. Like when I was at Rob's house, everyone wanted to hang out with me all of a sudden. All the people that didn't care about me, all of a sudden everyone's like, hey, we want to see you. Like, and then I felt hurt from that aspect. It's like, oh, like now I'm with Machado and like now everyone wants to hang out with me, and like on my Instagram, everything looks amazing, but like that's definitely the downside of Instagram. We all look like we're just freaking killing it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like film myself all day like throwing up and like showing you what it's really like.
Well, I would be curious to hear how posting that stuff, a lot of it was very vulnerable. How much of that was beneficial and how much of it was detrimental to your process?
It helped. I think it made everyone realize this is a real thing. I now like my friend Paul Gomez, he was just severely injured. And I watched what he did. I'm like, man, he'd had a great campaign, like he had, it's like you were able to see what he went through. So you could like give him the compassion, like it's like that's what I wasn't able to show. So people would help. And I think I guess it's the way we live now. You have to I have to have a campaign program to show how injured I am to get people to help. Like, and in my head, I'm like, that's messed up. Like people should just,
Yeah. Or you cannot,
like
or you cannot show it at all, because showing any of it then opens it up to people questioning, why is he doing this? Is he doing this for popularity? Is he doing this to grow the account? Is he doing it for sympathy? Yeah. But the flip side is, of course, you get insights from that community that you might not get otherwise, maybe referrals to doctors or whatever else.
Yeah. No, it helped for sure, but So like after California, I came home and I felt like nothing worked. I felt like shit again, and I was tripping. And I microdosed on psilocybin, and that helped me to kind of like get myself up again. And I took like a couple days worth, and then I ran for the first time.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, this stuff's insane.
Had you ever done it before?
I hate drugs, honestly.
Well, they do use it for treatment of PTSD. And I know like Johns Hopkins University is actually doing clinical work with it.
Yeah.
And obviously it's being approved kind of on a state level. I think Colorado or something has approved it for certain treatment. So whether or not you're dosing correctly or using the right strain or any of that is up for debate, but it is actually being used by the medical community now for treatment of specifically, I think, PTSD.
Yeah.
But I'm not up to speed on all of it. So maybe it's being used for brain injuries as well.
Yeah, apparently they were trying to get me to macrodose. Apparently a lot of like hockey players macrodose and get really good healing. But after a couple weeks, I started feeling really weird. And I just felt like that's what I needed to get to the next step. So I went back to Hawaii, and that's when like my life changed, really. Like we met a guy who had a house on the beach during the summer, and he's like, you can rent my place. I'm going to be gone all winter. And it was right at backyards. So
Wow.
I could just paddle out at VLAN, like so easy. So we get out there, and like it felt like everything I did finally started flowing, like, and I just started surfing VLAN every day, and it was like the scariest thing ever. And but I just 10 a.m. every morning, I had my whole schedule out, like sleep, do like I did as much yoga as I could. Like at first it was just downward bend, and like I could do downward bend for like 2 weeks, and then I would just go a little more. So I just surfed VLAN every day, and then after like 2 months, people are just filming me, and I started surfing like Rocky Point, and then it just felt like me came back, and all my creativity. And I was like, dude, I'm 50 pounds overweight. No one's seen Sterling in years. I'm just gonna walk up to guys and hand them my flyer for surf lessons.
3 easy payments of $999.
So I'm still crippled. Like, so I'm like, it was so cool. It was like my character was now healing me. If that makes sense. Like the humor and letting go of the reality and just like dive into a character, dive into this like overweight, Sterling's been missing character. And I was healing myself while in the mix of performing, pretty much. And then I would just start. And so it was just the craziest experience, because when I first got to Hawaii, it was like Sterling was completely forgotten. The legend of Sterling was gone. And I started posting videos. And then when I did the Kelly, the one you were talking about earlier, that one went super viral. And then it was like, I don't know if my Instagram got on whatever algorithm or whatever. I'd post my video in the morning, and I would like I'd ride my bike down the Sunset, and people would be like, there he is, it's Sterling. And it was like, whoa, like, and people were coming up to me, like, and it's like something about whatever I was going through, like people would just like pour their hearts out to me, like all day long. They'd be like, this happened to me, and like, and it just became this crazy bonding with whoever I came close to. It felt like it was like I felt like I was walking on water. Like everywhere I went, it was like I was back from the dead. And I had like this energy. I feel like that was like it was just it was like the best experience.
The energy of those people, maybe like you're propelled by their energy.
Mm-hmm. It felt like a felt like a I found my reason.
I wonder if part of the brain injury in the worst of it was preventing you from seeing that in your friends and the other people, like it was always there even when you were at your lowest, but you were just blocked from it. And then once you kind of started to round the bend, you could see kind of that good nature in people.
Yeah. Well, like it was just so crazy. Like, before my injury, like I would make a movie and it would reach 100,000 people over a year, right? Now I could post in the morning and I would reach 100,000 people by noon. And most of them were in Hawaii. So it was like, not only can I reach people instantly, it was just the craziest. Like, then every day people are just like waiting. And like, when in the summer I was sitting by myself on the beach, all of a sudden I had like groups of people looking for me to sit with me, like,
Yeah.
it was just like this amazing, just like healing experience. I felt like for everyone, like just like my humor, like, the gift I was given was I realized how important it is for healing for people, like, we, the person I am naturally, like, can help people feel better.
Totally.
At their, like at their lowest. And before, my humor was for my ego, like earlier in my career, is like, I want to be the most famous person in the world. That was like, I always said that. And it was like, now it's like, I just want to make people laugh so they can heal. Like, because I realized how healing it was for me. And then I could see it in people's eyes, like, it's like something about the interaction of it too, like daily.
Yeah.
Something about that too was like a part of it. Like, not just a movie someone saw. It was like, I was doing it. They would see me, like they know I'm like crippled. They can see it, they can see it happening. Like you could see it happening. Like it was all like, it was the coolest experience I've ever been through. Like, it was like just the way it all came together. And then being able to surf like Pipeline again, it was just like, I had this crazy block with pipe because I was like, if I fall again, like, I think I would go back. So I just wasn't going to surf pipe. And I went to get a massage from this lady. And like, we had the craziest connection. She was like, it was such a spiritual journey with her. And she had so many healing tricks and like, and then like right after that, we talked a lot about my dad, and he was a constant theme in my brain through this, like, because my dad passed away and I never got to say goodbye.
Okay.
And so like he was like, I felt like we needed healing. Our souls needed healing. Like, and after I saw her and like we talked, and I went and checked pipe that night, and I was like, I'm ready. It was so weird. And I served pipe the next morning, and it was like 6 feet, not like giant. But dude, it was just like, I felt like I climbed Mount Everest. Like, to serve pipe, to pull into a barrel at pipe, and to feel that energy again when I sat at a freaking tree for 3 freaking years thinking I was never going to surf again. It was just like crazy. Like, I was, you know, I was world champ.
Number one surfer in the world. Did you get video of that wave?
No.
That's fair. Just as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have video of sessions later on, like backdoor. By then it was March, and no one was around really. And man, it was just like to be able to pull in a back door and look at the sunset, and just, man, like, I never appreciated it the whole time I got to do it.
Right.
You know, like, it sucks we have to have everything taken from us to appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all about perspective in life. I mean, truly.
Yeah, my whole pro surf career was just, it was I mean, all us pro surfers were like genetic specimens, you know, so we don't even know what it takes to get there.
Right.
It just happens. And I started from ground zero and I built myself back. And wow, is it hard?
Right.
And it's just like, man, that was all given to me. And now I had to like earn it. I had to earn everything back again. So now I'm just like, you know, when I touch the ocean, I'm just like, thank you.
Well, the trick is maintaining that, because I feel like, you know.
Not for me.
Okay, good.
Not for me.
Good.
Like, the experience was so gnarly. Every day it's just like you can't, to go through that much suffering, you can't forget it. So you use it daily. You can't forget it, but it's like it grows an amazing flower for your day. It's like the mud, you know?
Yeah. Do you mind if we take a pee break real quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to leave it recording, but if I pee now, I'll be able to give you my full attention for the rest of our conversation.
No, you're good. I'll take one too.
Regarding that kind of flower from the mud analogy, I would imagine for your wife and your son to have seen you at your worst and being able to kind of see you thriving in that way has to be pretty huge for them, right?
Yeah. I feel like my son and wife are just like, it's so hard. It's just as hard for the people around me, you know? And I think that's what people don't realize. Like, I've talked to friends who had cancer, like gnarly cancer and stuff they go through, and like how hard it is on the family. You know, it's just like, I feel like we're all just relieved.
Yeah.
And they were really, like, one of the hardest parts of my brain injury is you get disassociation. So you like don't know who you are. And I could look at them. I could look at my son, and he has my nose, and I could see his nose, and I'm like, that's my family. So they were so crucial for me to have around, like, because I would get so scared, you know? It's just like, and that's what was really hard in California. I was without them. So I would get the disassociation, and I was around, you know, Rob, and I'd start freaking out, but I can't, they don't understand, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm around strangers all of a sudden. So I just had a system, just go to my room, um, just look at pictures of Wyatt, just had a system, you know, just, I feel like if we could all just walk in each other's shoes, you know, it would be, this world would be a better place.
I was thinking of that when you were talking about spending time with homeless people and sympathizing with them. Is you hear people say, just be kind. Just be kind to everybody, because you don't know what somebody else is going through. And when everything's rosy for yourself, it's easy to poke fun and to kind of criticize other people or whatever.
Yeah.
I held the door open for the woman behind me getting coffee this morning. She didn't say thank you. And I was miffed. You know, I almost like wanted to like say something. I just give her a rude, you're welcome, without her even saying thank you. But you don't know what they're going through. You know what I mean? Like, it could be the lowest point in her life and she just needs a little bit of grace.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the person to preach anything, but I feel like being happy is, it's for yourself, and you can't be happy without giving that to people, and it's almost like a selfish thing, but you know, we're like this unit, you know, if you're happy, then it spreads, and it's like, so it's just, if you can just, yeah, focus on yourself, if everyone just focused on themselves.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
Can you tell me who Rob Machado is to you, and why would he do such a great thing of bringing you in and allowing you access to that treatment?
Rob is like a dad to me. Like, we've always had a special relationship. I just think it's our souls. I think same thing with Andy. I was someone where Rob could be safe and have fun, you know. And our business relationship of us just surfing together, it worked out well because I was in like my prime, making movies and stuff, and you know, he's older, and we've always had, you know, that kind of bond. He was really crucial. He felt like dad for me, you know, during that time. He had a lot of my dad's energy, it felt like. Yeah, I just, you know, I think about the bigger picture. I'm like, why am I so lucky to be able to get to where I am? Because there's so many people that don't make it. It's like, it freaks me out a little bit. And it's like, do I have guardian angels? Do I have this or that? You know, you just like, it's like, it always felt like something popped up. I always felt like I'm not gonna make it, and then something popped up, like someone somewhere somehow just, it would pop up, and it was like this simultaneously. I had to create it and then let it happen. Like when I just laid in bed and didn't create it, nothing would happen. And when I finally got to the point, it's like, okay, I need this, and I would think about it, and then like it was like I was creating it myself, like, because I couldn't walk, I couldn't use my phone really, you know, I couldn't, like, so I just like dig deep in myself and like made it happen. It felt like, it's crazy.
Speaking of making it happen, you talked about that Kelly video being unscripted. You just had like a very vague concept. It seems like some of the other ones are much more scripted.
Yeah.
the Tom Carroll one was arguably my favorite. Like, I was dying laughing. I've watched it a bunch of times. So talk about, first of all, how'd you get Tom Carroll involved? And secondly, what is that creative process like in terms of scripting or not?
So the Kelly video was the first one. And then my brain just went, and it was like, okay, this is the flow. And like, the surf lessons, it was like, everything was just clicking, you know? And I was like, I just found my character, and I was just flowing. And I messaged Tom Carroll. I was like, can we please do a video? And we've been internet friends a little bit, and he was like super stoked. Like, he like hit me up first, like right when he got off the airplane. And so I was just like, okay, I just lost against Kelly. And with Kelly, I was really debating, like, I was like, I guess my character always has been beating Kelly. So I was like, I need to let Kelly beat me. And then Tom Carroll is going to help me bounce back from this loss.
Yeah.
And Tom, he was another person that pops up along my journey. Because I just had one quick thing we were going to do, and it turned into like, we hung out every day, meditated twice a day. And he really helped. He taught me TM meditation. And that, I do it every day since. And
Wow.
that's been a huge pillar with my healing. Being around Tom, it's like, dude, his energy is so contagious, and he's so unjudgmental. He's so you know, I kept calling him Guru because that was the character in my mind, and it really bugged him. You know, he's just like, he's found himself, and he loves pouring it to people, you know. And it was so sick. Like, I'm in Hawaii meditating with Tom in the bushes, you know. And we talked for hours, and it was just like, man, like, what a beautiful, you know. I have a picture of me when I was 3 years old. My brother in school made me a surfboard replicated of Tom Carroll's board. And I used to walk around the house carrying this board that looked like Tom Carroll's Quicksilver sticker, the stripe. And I was just thinking, I'm like, dude, like, you know, is this an accident?
Right.
You know, like, this is meant to be. Like, I'm such a surfing soul. Like, all these pro surfers, they're so a part of me. Like Aki and all of them, the momentum generation, like everyone, like I've gotten a piece of them, and it's like I've digested it into me, and now it's, you know, like going on. Like, my dad was a pro surfer. I grew up in the environment since the 80s. And it's just like, I am just surfer. Like, so it's just, Tom Carroll was just a special experience, you know, like, along with many of them.
Did you have to sell him on the comedy bit, or is he just all in?
He was all in.
Yeah. That's what made it better. He was like, he looked like a professional actor in it, you know? Like, he wasn't acting, actually, is what it looked like.
He was so good. Yeah, he's great. Him and Aki, you know, such amazing spirits, you know, like surfing, so blessed to have.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally.
the people we have, you know, like, we're so blessed. Like,
Have there been any professional opportunities that have presented themselves now that you've been revitalizing your comedy career on Instagram?
Yeah, just started working with a company called Zen Water, and we did like a full commercial, and that was another amazing accomplishment for myself. Just like I haven't had like a company come to me like this like since Verizon. I don't know if you remember that commercial back in the
I
day.
do. Yeah.
So it was just like so sick. They were just like make us a commercial where people can't click away.
So they
Like, all
let
right.
you decide the concept and everything.
Yeah. They kind of gave me a wish list, and they've been following me through Instagram my whole journey. So they're like, we like this character, we like this, and then I was like, if you guys can give me like lines that you want said, and then I'll just create a concept and deliver it. And yeah, that commercial came out like a week ago or something, and I just like I can't believe my brain's working. And it's just like I worked with the commercial with my cousin Ryan, who he was a big part of my Pinch My Salt production era. So when me and him get around with each other, it's like one brain. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's like, so he was huge help.
Is he more on the production and video and the editing side?
Yeah, he edited it and filmed
Gotcha.
it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of the way we work.
I want to know where you see this whole thing going, because I feel like the sky's the limit. You've got an Instagram following already, and it should be stated, we didn't talk about it last time, but your sister is a big deal in Hollywood. So I feel like she's an actress. You can give the credits if you want so that listeners know. But I feel like you could leverage that. Like you could take this any direction that you want to. You have all of the connections, you already have the following. So what direction, where would you like to see it go?
I like to live life. And I honestly, I just wanted what I did in Hawaii, but bring it to a more professional level.
Yeah.
Where I have a team, and I'm just like I've tried to get into like making sitcoms and doing bigger stuff for Netflix. Like I've dabbled in it and stuff, and like earlier in my career, and it's just like I'm a surfer, dude. Like, like if both of those worlds don't blend together, like I'm not I don't thrive. So like, yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe YouTube channel.
Or maybe just partnerships with brands that, like the Zen Water thing, that just allow you to do you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be working with them in the future, so definitely like more stuff like that would be the sickest, you know. Like I definitely want to live in Hawaii like part-time, like half the year. I'm just like I'm so connected to that place now. It's like
Yeah.
But yeah, like doing more Zen Water stuff. And I am a big, when I start creating, I like to get it building, you know, and like, so I'm figuring it out, but I feel like when I think about it less, it works better.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is there any pressure associated with it? Or once you're generating content like you were in Hawaii, it can become a hamster wheel that just feels exhausting. Do you feel any of that pressure?
I feel like I'm at a place in life where I've learned to balance. I don't live for entertainment. Entertainment like comes out of me. And I used to live, I wake up in the morning like, because I had this fame goal. And so it's like, so I woke up every day stressed and like, oh, I need to be with this person. I need to. And now it's like, I wake up and I'm like, oh, water. I drank the water. I'm like, wow, that's so good. Like, oh, I'm hungry. Like, I live just moment to moment. And then when like I get to my phone, it's like, oh, let me make some fun. And I make the fun and then I put it up and then I just watch my son and I go surf. I'm so dedicated to surfing, like, especially now because I'm trying to get back. In my head, I'm on this like path of Tom Curran, like enlightenment in surfing, like like I honestly think about that more, like surfing, riding waves, and how can I be like more connected on the wave? Like, how can I just? What I love about Tom is like I feel like he was just so pure on a wave.
Yeah.
I feel like nowadays we're all trying to replicate it in some way, or it's either people are either like freaking doing like flips or they're trying to look like Tom and they like pose,
Yeah.
like and it's like there's no like Tom was both perfectly. So in my surfing, that's what every day like I just think about, like how can I just like fully flow purely, like what is the Sterling flow? But it's like Tom is like my Tom is like my I guess he's like guru, surf guru, like someone that helps you to yourself,
I'm glad. So I long ago gave up my aspirations of being Tom Curran on a wave. But I feel like when I watched you writing that Yellow album in Hawaii, I can aim for that. So I'm glad that you're aiming for Tom and falling short, and then I'm aiming for Sterling. I'm like, I just want to go down the line and do a bottom turn, and then maybe like occasionally I'll do a cutback.
Yeah.
But if I could just like do a bottom turn and then have my arms positioned cool when I'm doing the cutback, that's my goal.
Yeah, it's a funny world I live in.
How did you connect with Album Surfboards?
So I rode Rob's boards, and when I was recovering, I rode like every Rob board he ever made, and it really showed me like I need like I need to like, if I'm gonna surf the way I want to surf, like I need like a different board that's like kind of a balance of both worlds. And I was just wanting something new, and I reached out to them, and they're just so cool, and I just feel like they're the future, like the way their program is and everything is like they're always working digitally on stuff, which I relate to because I'm always working on stuff, and it's like it doesn't feel like it feels right, and it feels fresh, and the boards feel so good. It feels like such a blend of where my surfing wanted to go, like it's like I love the old school feel, but I like want to be radical, like full on. And like I feel like they have that blend for me, like just that perfect blend I was looking for.
Had you seen anybody in particular riding their boards that made you reach out, and what did you ask for and what did they give you?
I definitely was watching Asher Pacey,
Yeah.
and I was like, God, I love his surfing. And it was definitely Asher and Kerr, and I just feel like everyone who rides for him, they get better. Like Kerr was like insane, and I feel like he got better on these boards. I was like, shit, like, and Asher too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up surfing with Asher. Like, he was on the QS, like I think he was on the QS, or I saw him doing like a few air shows back in the day. And I always thought he was sick, but it was like the boards didn't let him be him. It felt like, and then like he started writing albums, and it was like all of a sudden he's a god.
Have you seen the size of the boards too? He's like riding 5.4s.
Yeah, he's on even smaller.
Really?
He's on like 4.11s.
What? And he's
Which is
big.
interesting. I ordered mine big because I'm trying to like get my balance back, you know. But I do see why you can get them small. Like I'm about to get two boards, and it's a 5.2 and a 5.4, and I can see how, but you know, he's a tall dude. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. So it's like he's skimboarding.
Yeah. I've held a couple of them. We have a studio actually at Album.
Sorry.
Bless you. No, it's fine.
Cut this out.
Yeah. We have a podcast studio in Album in San Clemente, so I know them pretty well, and I get to see a lot of those boards when they come through.
Oh, is that where you do it?
When I do it in person, that's where we do it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's up.
I do a lot of these. I do obviously remotely, so I can do it from home, but we do have a studio there. So, but yeah, I see, like I've held some of those boards and it's almost like a disc, you know, it's like not quite as wide as it is tall, but they're kind of disc-like. It's bizarre.
Yeah, I love where it's going. Like I used to ride like I rode like a mini Simmons for a year. And they're sick, but they're kind of the hardest board to ride.
Totally.
It's not like easy. Like it's so flat and so wide, and the fins are so tiny. And
yeah,
but I really got I learned a lot from riding a board like that. But that's what I love about Album. It's like oh, okay, Mini Simmons is sick, but how can we make it functional where you can actually like top to bottom turns instead of like looking sick and like gliding and like trying to cut back, you know. It's like how can we like make this actually work?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what all their designs, when I touch them, ride them, you know, it's like which is where I was wanting to go, you know, like, and it's just like yeah, I love them. I love where they're going.
Yeah, I do too. I was glad to see that you connected with them.
And they're such good guys, like such lighthearted guys, you know. It's like sick to just feels fun. And that's where I thrive.
Good. I mentioned your sister. Can you give me some of her credits, and also how awesome has it been to see her career take off?
Let me blow my nose real quick.
All right.
You want to ask the question again?
No, I'll just cut it.
Oh, you can cut it?
Yeah, I can cut it. So straight from that question to your answer.
Okay. So my sister, Abigail Spencer, she's the famous one. And she's been in all kinds of movies. Probably her biggest was she was on Mad Men, which was super popular. And then she was in Cowboys and Aliens with Harrison Ford, and you know, those big famous peoples. She's done a ton of stuff. I'm missing a ton of stuff. Like she's on Suits, I think, and
her career's still climbing too. I feel like every year I see her mentioned in bigger and bigger things.
Yeah, she just got like a pilot recently, and I think she's working on a movie with Ryan Gosling.
That's what I saw recently. Yeah.
Yeah, she's producing it. She's one of the producers, I believe. I'm not sure if she's in it. She might be. But yeah, my sister has been like famous since she was like born. Like
Really?
she I remember when she was like, so she's 5 years older than me. One of my earliest memories is like she's been on Broadway since like 4 years old in her mind.
Oh, okay.
She used to film herself tap dancing all day long. She's like, I'd be like, Abby, shut up. She'd be tap dancing, singing at the top of her lungs, filming herself. She's like, oh. I'd be trying to watch like Rugrats on Nickelodeon. I'm like, shut up. And she did all the Cinderella pageants, and it like we used to have to go. I used to have to go with them, and I hated them, and like so much like girls singing, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill myself. And when she was 15 or 17, she got on this soap opera, All My Children.
Okay.
And my dad used to date Kathy Lee Gifford. Do you remember her?
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So like my dad dated Kathy when they were like in high school, and
Okay.
my dad like dumped her and broke her heart. And Kathy, she was so obsessed with him. Every year on Regis and Kathy Lee, she would wish my dad happy birthday and talk about how much she loved him, and he's a surfer.
Oh my gosh.
So when my sister was 17, my dad and her went on the show. And some reason my dad wore this leather jacket. This is the 90s, like 98 or they went on the show and they had my sister like sing or something. I can't totally remember, but Kathy was like, oh my gosh, Abigail, she's amazing. And so Kathy she got her on All My Children, like instantly.
Okay.
She's like, boom. And then she's like, Abby can come live at my house with me. I'll take care of her, make sure everything's okay. And so she stayed with Kathy Lee for 2 years or something in New York and did All My Children. And then Abby, she kind of like went through like a depression phase. It was really hard on her to go to New York that young. And she moved to LA, and she was like a nanny for a while, and then she's like the hardest working person I've ever met. Like she didn't get like a gig till she was like 30 after that.
Wow.
And then she just like took off. So she really put in her time. Like she's very hardworking.
That's amazing. Her Kathy Lee moment was like your Andy Irons moment.
Andy is my Kathy Lee giver.
Totally. Let's see the Photoshop of that.
Well, Pete, I feel like, will people even remember Kathy Lee? Like your viewers? She was
right now, I think her name is still in the awareness.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If you're younger than 25, maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, I'm trying to think of how to compare that to now. That's like Kim Kardashian.
No. Well, yeah,
like
maybe.
How
I mean,
famous was she? Like she had to be top tier famous people.
Because even now, like Kelly Ripa, who has Kathy Lee's role on the exact same show, isn't as popular as Kathy Lee was, because there was only 5 channels, and she was on she was on the biggest one.
Yeah.
But by the way, it's epic that your dad broke her heart and she was still in love with him and kind to him years later. Because I feel like most people hold a grudge.
I know, it's so interesting. It must have been a good breakup.
I guess, yeah. She sounds like a good person.
He was just so, I think him being a surfer really blew her mind. It was like a fantasy, you know, like
Totally.
remember the beach.
Totally. Closing questions. Where can people send their 3 easy payments of $999?
They can fax it. They can fax it straight to my pager.
Straight to the 12th dimension.
Oh yeah, the 12th dimension. That's what we're all striving for.
That's what's so great about the comedy, by the way, is the through line. Like the fact that there's a storyline of like episode 1, Kelly beats you, which is by the way the sequel to the previous series where you were beating Kelly. So then Kelly beats you, but then you got to connect with Tom, and then you got to, like, all of that being connected. These are episodes that you could appreciate on their own, but the through line is what makes them great.
Right. It's like it's always been a never flowing series. Like with Laird back in the day, like I guess my thing, I've always just lived a fantasy life digitally.
Yeah.
And just it's been going for what, 15 years or...
Good. Well, I asked you if you feel any pressure, you know, to keep the hamster wheel spinning, and I hope that you don't, because the reality is your value to us is you being yourself. And so if it used to be that existed on Pinch My Salt, that was great at the time, but it doesn't need to anymore. And if you take time off, that's fine too. And if it's Instagram, what you're doing in the last couple months, fantastic. But maybe that was only for those months. Maybe the next thing, you know, like
just keep it going.
Or just keep doing you is what it is in whatever iteration it is, you know?
No, I will for sure. I feel like I found my formula. It's so crazy seeing like the way surfers are using it now. Because in the beginning of my career, that's what I struggled most. I fought with Billabong a lot with like, hey, my career's digitally. And I fought with them about that a lot. And now it's like, if your career isn't digital, you're not even alive.
Totally.
So that was crazy being in Hawaii, like being around like Koa Rothman and like Nathan Florence and like seeing them use it to the best.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, dude, this is so sick. Like they're like creating their life with this. That was like my whole dream, you know, like I want to create my life the way I want to do it. You know, like I want to be on the surf trips I want to be on, and I want to do what I want to do. You know, I'm like, that's to me the coolest part of now. It's like all these guys are just doing them, and that's sick, I think.
Yeah, it resonates with the viewer because it's authentic.
Yeah, it's so interesting now too. It's like there is a formula now, and if you don't follow it, it's really hard to like for your stuff to take off.
Right.
From what I've noticed, I was like relearning in Hawaii. Like I was like, I'm gonna make a movie, and then I realized like it's not. It's like you have to like adapt. And like I was watching Dane Reynolds surf the other day, and I was like, wow, he's surfing so good still. And it's like, but he's not doing like the format, you know, like, and it's like no one sees Dane. Like it feels like, and it's like, dude, it's like it's figuring out the format is like first, and then make your stuff. There's such a formula now, and like it's so interesting. Like it changes, and everyone weirdly knows. It's like who's running this ship? Like it's like it's just full monkey see, monkey do. Like
Yeah,
Um, it's very interesting. Like
it really
movies
is.
are out. Like unless you're doing it for Netflix or something, like that's what I noticed immediately. It's like, dude, I'm an old dog. I gotta freaking change the way I do this stuff. And it's like, yeah. But I still love it's like my mind is always, we're making a movie. But it's like life is the movie.
That's why you got to document it daily.
Yeah. It just people like daily stuff.
They do.
It's just like which is cool because it's easier to just live your life.
Right.
Like before when we're trying to make a movie, it's like you're trying to manipulate everything to create this vision you have. And now you kind of just let life create it.
The crux though with that is just how much do you reveal about your real life, because it's vulnerable to pull back the curtain.
Yeah. And I think that's why, like, for me, like it's good that I have a character.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you're totally right. Like some of the comedians I see, like they're like just pouring their life out daily. I'm like, dude, be careful. You're gonna like
Totally.
go insane.
For sure. Or it just compromises the integrity of your relationship with your wife, if you're putting that on display, or your kids,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like for
Yeah,
the
that's a big,
Kardashians, the way that they're doing it, it's just like, how could you possibly justify it, But
yeah, that's a slippery slope. It looks like, which was great about comedy is you just make your own world.
right.
Like you don't need to. I think some people like they just have to document their lives. That's what people want to watch. And I talk to a lot of people that vlog, that have been vlogging, and it looks, I mean, the internet messed me up, like trying to constantly feed it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you vlog every day and like everything you have to like be like, hey, it's like, dude, you're going to drive yourself nuts.
Yeah. Or some people are built for it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're built for it, like sick. I guess I wasn't.
I'm certainly not. But like you know,
It seems
the
like a dangerous, also rewarding.
yeah,
If you can manage it just right.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for taking so much time. Great to reconnect, and let's do it again in the future down the
Thanks
road.
for having me, dude.
Gladly. Good to hear that you're well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, man. Thanks.
Take it easy.
You too.